Hey guys, welcome to Chronicles of a Therapist. I'm Cassandra Shepard. I am the host of this amazing podcast. So I wanted to talk about mental health. Now, yes, I am a therapist. Absolutely. We know this. It's in the title, right? But I want to talk about it because I understand that because my viewpoint of mental health is way, way different and it's everywhere in my world. I don't believe that everybody realizes how prevalent it is. Like, I don't believe that people really, really know how many people suffer with some kind of mental illness. So I went to the good old World Wide Web, and some of the top, I don't have numbers, but some of the top mental illnesses are anxiety disorders, which people mistake. Anxiety is an emotion. If you see Inside Out too, it's an emotion. So what's interesting is that it's an emotion, but it's also an illness, a mental illness. And why it's a mental illness is it's the extreme. I've said this before. If a police come behind me, yes, almost borderline panic attack, because I don't need to get pulled over, and depending on where you at and what's going on, you just get nervous and you get anxious and your heart's racing. That's anxiety. But having social anxiety, meaning I am incapable of leaving my house and or have panic attacks in large social interactions. Now, granted, what's amazing about mental health, now I'm almost positive why people don't realize how prevalent it is. There are a lot of people who have mental illness and don't know that that's what it is. So they survive. They figure out, okay, cool, I got real bad social anxiety. So I know y'all got me for about 25 minutes, unless I take a shot. If I take a shot when I'm out, it can carry me for another hour, right? A lot of times people struggle with their mental illness and they figure out how to navigate day-to-day life, how to navigate raising kids, how to navigate working. This is just a thing. So anxiety is the top one. Major depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder. Everybody believes that they're OCD. Let me just school y'all real quick. Most people are not OCD. You just might be a type A personality. So if you've ever seen, it's a really, really good, it's like, it captures it well. It's called Monk. If you've ever watched Monk, he has OCD. Somebody who has to flip the lights 15 times before they walk out the door because if they don't, their grandmother's going to have a heart attack. That's OCD. Not, oh my God, my house is out of order and I'm, no, you just are particular and have type A personality because it makes you uncomfortable. But you don't have to do ridiculous things. You don't have to do repetitions of things. I apologize for saying ridiculous. That was wrong. But flicking the lights off 15 times, looking in and out the door, locking the door 5 times. So that is what OCD is. That is more prevalent than we realize. But everybody, oh, I'm just so OCD. No, you just were particular. You have quirks. You are type A personality. They are not the same. Substance use disorders, which can range from crack cocaine, fentanyl, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, gambling. People always, everybody always wants to talk about the quote unquote crackhead that they know. There are more people struggling with their substance use. There's another show called Nurse Jackie. Pill popping nurse was able to be an amazing nurse, but was pill house also, substance use. These are people who have professional degrees, who are professionals, and they are struggling with substance use. Schizophrenia, which I'm going to touch on this. People believe that schizophrenia is, hey, I'm crazy. Schizophrenia is basically somebody who struggles with reality and they hear and see things that other people don't. I have met more people in my therapy chair who are schizophrenic that you would never know that they were schizophrenic. Either they're medicated or they have survived. They have learned how to cope in the midst of hearing and seeing things. You might think they might have a little quirky, but they are struggling because right behind you, there's a figure looking at them. So it's a thing. I also think that borderline personality disorder, people don't realize what that is and how prevalent it is. And to touch on it, but borderline personality disorder usually manifest traumas. You had really, really bad trauma as a kid, and what happens is you learn how to protect yourself. So then these are the people who have really, really extremes, and not like, hey, I'm bipolar, because bipolar disorder is highs and lows. So manic and depression. These are emotions. A manic, I might be spending a lot of money. I might not be able to sleep. Depression, I'm sleeping. I have no motivation. I can't get out of bed. Borderline is, and some of you guys might have had dated somebody like this and was wondering what was wrong with you. Borderline personality disorder is, I love you, I love you, I love you, but then I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I'm going to do everything I can to sabotage this relationship, but oh no, wait, please don't leave me, please. And it can be as intense as, oh, if I'm going to commit suicide, I don't really want to kill myself, but if I kill or attempt to commit suicide, guess what? You're going to stay. So, it gives toxic. If you've ever dated somebody who was toxic, or a lot of people like to say narcissist, they probably are borderline personality disorder, and you don't even know it, and they probably don't know it. They just are existing. And then eating disorders. I think a lot of people don't realize how prevalent they are. And I'll share this. I have talked before about my amazing father. He is I love him. He is like the best dad ever. I was privileged to have him be stable when I was growing up because my mom was struggling with her alcohol abuse, her substance use disorder, right? So he was super, super stable, went to work, had one of the reasons why I have so many jobs, I guarantee you, is because Frank Shepard. My dad used to work third shift at the steel mills, get off, drive the cab until he picked us up from school. How? Sir, when do you sleep, right? And I later found out once I was older that my dad's bipolar. People who are bipolar sometimes are manic and don't sleep. They can go days without sleep. So I saw it as, oh my God, my dad is able to he's bipolar. So his brain chemistry is a little different. So that's kind of why he was able to do it. And so I have talked about, some of the ridiculousness that my dad has done. My dad has been to jail for stealing a U-Haul pickup truck. And amongst other things, my dad is very, very intelligent, but he's also a man who has buried a father, a mother, a daughter, and a sister. And if you know anything about grief can affect your psyche. It can affect your relationships. It can affect how you navigate. My dad is currently not in a relationship. He knows everybody and he kind of just hops around, but it's because of his mental illness. He gambles. He smokes a lot of weed. He drinks a lot of whiskey. And I will say my experience with my dad's bipolar disorder is that I realized how sick my dad really was. I was 13. When I was 13, my grandmother told me, I was 13. My grandmother told me that my dad had he had shoulder surgery, so I wasn't going to be able to talk to him for 3 to 5 days. When I turned 19, I realized my dad was really in the psych world. Yep, they pink slipped him. So one of the reasons why people don't know about their family mental illness history is because nobody talks about it. Like my grandmother has been struggling, rest her soul, has been struggling with navigating my father's mental illness all his life. I remember there were moments when I was a kid and my dad would just sleep all the time. He would just be in the basement at my grandmother's house and he would just sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep. Once I got older, I realized my dad was a zombie because his medications. My grandmother was making sure he took his medications. And because my dad doesn't believe that anything's wrong with him, he wasn't advocating for himself to say, these medications are way, 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 way too strong. Like, all I want to do is sleep. He couldn't advocate. His mental illness wouldn't allow him to advocate. So if you've ever heard me talk about him, I love him to death. But I understand there's been periods of time where I would just block my dad because he would literally call me 7 times an hour, not a day, an hour. And then either wouldn't remember what he was talking about. He was drunk. He was at the bar. Dad, what, are you okay? Do you need something? No, oh, okay, my dad. And so for me, because I'm in this field, I'm the kid who has a different insight of my dad's mental illness. I understand, and me and my dad have had conversations. My dad does not subscribe to him being bipolar. If I open the DSM-5 TR, yep, I can diagnose, but that's not my place. I would say to anybody who has somebody who is mentally ill, it can be very, very hurtful if you don't have an understanding of the mental illness. Even if you're not, a lot of people you can't diagnose somebody, but you can figure out some stuff. Everybody knows somebody who's probably bipolar because they either get really depressed and erratic but as somebody whose father is like that, because of my educational background and working in this field, I understand my dad more than most people. So my dad calling me 7 times an hour, the reason I block him, because that tells me my dad is manic. And because he's manic, he has no idea of what he's doing. He's not out of his mind where he doesn't know who he is, but it's not connecting. And so the times where he is manic, I know how to set a boundary, which I will encourage anybody who has a loved one, a spouse, a significant other, a sibling, a grandmother. You have to know what your boundaries are, because you cannot help somebody who is mentally ill who don't want to get help. You cannot. And I learned that the hard way with my dad. When he went to jail, I ended up losing one of my jobs at that time because he's in jail. Who my sister was like, no, sis, I'm not going to be able to go to, she has a daughter. Like, I was the one who had the flexibility, but it affected my capacity. It affected my ability to be a therapist, because nobody wants to see their parent in an orange suit for not returning a U-Haul. Like, if that don't say mental illness, like, what? That is and my dad doesn't have a background in criminal behavior. Like, you're just, okay, all right. So I say that to you, like, make sure you find your boundaries. You cannot, if somebody is mentally ill, if somebody is struggling with substance abuse and they're in active addictions, you have to be able to take care of yourself. You have to know what your boundaries are. And it's hard because when we love people, we want to be present. We want to be there. If somebody is struggling with active addictions, you might, I want them to be able to get the stuff, but I don't want them to they put fentanyl in anything. So you give them the money, there's a potential, because they are struggling in active addiction, they might overdose regardless of what they're using. So it's important for you to have boundaries. It's important for you to know they have different support groups, but you can always call your mobile crisis line. And the reason why I say that, they are a resource for you. They are a resource to say, I believe that this is going on and this is overwhelming. What resources do you guys have to help me so that I don't diminish my mental capacity attempting to help somebody who doesn't want help? You're going to burn yourself out, and nobody can be used and parent and be great at their job and be an entrepreneur if you've diminished your entire capacity because of somebody else who doesn't even want help, And so I see this often because I'm a therapist. I see it. I see people who are schizophrenic who don't want to take their medications. They make their therapy appointments, but they don't want to do the things that they need to do. They don't want to take their medication. They don't want to have case management. They don't want to do those things because, one, they are ill. I mean, like, if somebody has cancer and they're refusing treatment, what do? You're going to love them where they at, right? These are my boundaries. It sucks that you don't want to go on chemo, and that is potentially what can help you decrease your cancer and be cancer free. Mental illness is the same thing. It's an illness. I think a lot of times people become very upset with people who have mental illness. The reality is it's not their fault. Even if somebody is in active addiction, it's literally an illness, because think about yourself. Even if I drink a lot, you are in the right capacity to say, man, I just drank a fifth of whiskey in 2 days. You are in the capacity to know what you got going on. People who are in active addiction, they can't see that. They're trying to numb hurt, pain, traumas, whatever they got going on. They don't know. They can't identify, I shouldn't do this. I should not do that. That is the illness part. So I want to encourage you, if you have a loved one who is mentally ill, to one, take care of yourself. And this is going to sound really different, but you should go to therapy. Because you need a place to process that. Because guess what you can't do? As much as I love my dad is proud of what I do as a career. If I sat down with my dad, as intelligent as he is, and said, Dad, you know that you're bipolar. You're definitely bipolar, and you need to be, the only reason why I know this is because I've tried. My dad has said, I ain't crazy. I didn't say you were crazy, first of all. Second, if you have cancer, don't you want to know? Don't you want to get help? But when it comes to mental illness and the stigma behind it, sometimes people don't want to get help. So it's okay if you decide, I'm overwhelmed. I want to help my dad. I want to help my mom. They are struggling. I don't know how to do that. And now it's creating stress within my life, and it's affecting other ramifications of my life. It's okay for you to go to therapy for 2 reasons. One, it's going to help you process, because a lot of times you can't really talk to people about it because of the stigma of mental health, as well as people's understanding of what it should or shouldn't be. If you go and talk to a therapist, you might get the resources you need, but you'll have the safe space to process all of the things that are centered around it. So, I hope that helps you when it comes to mental illness in this society, within the people that we love. You can find me and connect with me on Instagram at cnshep_chronicles. And I look forward to our next episode. Bye, guys.